Have you ever wondered why some businesses grow and dominate while others fail and disappear? Why Apple worth $1 trillion while BlackBerry is completely forgotten? How did Netflix take over but Blockbuster went bankrupt? It is not just about having great product, it is about understanding competition, who has the power, who makes the rule and who can take your business down. And here is the secret. Every industry follow a pattern. No matter what industry, what businesses you are in, there are five biggest forces, five powerful forces that decide who wins, who struggle, and who disappears. This is called Porter 5 Force, one of the most important tool in business strategy. If you want to start a business, grow a company, or beat your competition, you must understand these five forces. So by the end of the video, you will see business differently. You will understand who really has the control, how to protect your business, and where new opportunities are hiding. So let's get started. So you understand the importance of competition, but before talking about what is Porter 5 Force or discussion about the Porter 5 Force model, let me tell you who created this model and why it is an important one. Meet Michael Porter, a Harvard professor, economist, and the man behind some of the most important business strategy tool ever created. In 1979, he introduced the 5 Force model, a framework that forever changed how businesses understand the competition. Before Porter 5 Force model, companies focused only on their direct competitor like Pepsi and Coca-Cola, Nike and Adidas. But Porter said competition is much bigger than that. You need to look beyond your rivals and see the hidden forces shaping your industry. So let's say you are playing the game of chess, but you only look at your opponent's queen and also ignoring all other pieces. So what might happen? So you'd lose that game instantly. So that is what happened when business focus only on their direct competitors, not others. So from there, Porter identified 5 major forces that impact every business. It doesn't matter it is big or small. These forces determine who has the power, where the risks are, and where are the biggest opportunities exist. A short brief about these 5 forces. First of all, he talked about rivalry among competitors. What does it mean? How tough is the fight between existing competitors? For example, Apple and Samsung, or even McDonald's or Burger King. Even I told you that Coca-Cola or Pepsi. So second one, he talked about the bargaining power of the suppliers. That means, does the suppliers control prices and resources? For example, the chip makers controlling the smartphone industry. Third one, he talked about the bargaining power of the buyer. How much control do the customer have over pricing and the product? For example, Walmart pressuring suppliers for lower prices. Then the threat of substitute. Are there alternative products or services that could replace your products or services? So for example, Netflix replaces cable TVs. And the last one is the threat of new entrants. That means, can new players easily enter to the market and take the shares? Think about how Tesla disrupted the automobile industry. So these forces, these 5 forces are always shifting. If you do not pay attention, your business can fall behind overnight. But if you understand and adapt, you can stay ahead of the competition and also dominate the whole industry. Now that you see the bigger picture, let's break it down each of these 5 forces in detail so that you can understand how impactful these particular strategies are in your businesses for every single day. If you have ever seen a new Coca-Cola ad, chances are you have also seen a Pepsi's ad right after that one. If McDonald launch a new burger, Burger King's respond within few days. This is the rivalry among the existing competitor. So what makes the rivalry intense? Not all industry face the same level of competition. But there are few aspects all the big competitor or small competitor in the market they need to concern about when talk about rivalry among the existing competitor. Let's discuss about it. First of all, the number of competitors. The more number of competitors means the more toughest the market it is. Let's say you are opening a coffee shop. If you are the only one in the town, you can set the prices. But what if you opened in a city, there are already 50 coffee shops exist? What would happen in that time? You will have to fight for consumers, offering discounts, promotion, and also loyalty programs. So what can we understand from that? That means more competitors means tougher fight and also lower profit. On the other hand, fewer competitor means easier market control and also the higher profit. The second aspect is the industry growth rate. That means growing market means less fighting. Industry that are grown fast have room for everyone to make money, but in slow or shrinking market, companies fight extremely to steal customer from each other. For example, the smartphone industry was highly profitable during the boom year, which is 2007 to 2015. But now, as growth slows, Apple, Samsung and others must fight harder for each and every single consumer. So the key learning here is growing industry means less rivalry, and when there are less rivalry means more consumer and easier profit. But if the industry is shrinking, that means the companies are fighting for their survival. Third key aspect is the product differentiation. Can you stand out? If your product is the same as everyone else's, the only way to compete is by lowering the prices, and that kill your profits. But what if you can make something unique? You do not have to fight on prices. Instead, customer choose you because you are different. You can think about the example of Apple doesn't fight with Samsung on price. They focus on brand, ecosystem and user experience. So the key thing here is more differentiation means less direct rivalry, which means higher profit and strong brand loyalty. Another thing is less differentiation means more price war, and there are huge possibility to lower down your profits and also constant struggle. Next one is brand loyalty. Do customers stick with you or they are switching? Think about you are in a grocery store, you need soda. Do you buy Coca-Cola or Pepsi? For many people, there are no choices. They are 100% loyal to one brand, and that gives companies an edge in the competition. Other than Coca-Cola, so you can think about the example of Apple user and also the Android user. So here is the issue. The strong brand loyalty means lower rivalry. That means customer will stay loyal. At the same time, weak brand loyalty means more competition. People easily switch from one brand to another. So from there, another key aspect is the switching cost. How hard is it to switch, or how hard is it to change? Why do not more people switch from Windows to Mac or Mac to Windows? It is not about pricing. Switching is a hassle-some work. New software, new learning curve, new systems. So higher switching cost means less rivalry. That means customer will stay with you. And lower switching cost means intense rivalry. That means customer can switch easily. So now you have seen some of the key aspect of the first force, which is rivalry among the existing competitors. So what is the key learning here? If you are in a high rivalry industry, you need to find a way to stand out, build loyalty and avoid price war. And if you are in a low rivalry industry, that means protect your advantages. So the force 2 or second force, which is bargaining power of the suppliers. Who holds the power? Think about your favorite smartphone, the coffee you drink or the clothes you wear. Have you ever wondered who really controls the price? You might think it is the brand, but the reality is the power could be in the hand of the supplier as well. So if the suppliers have too much of power, they can increase the cost, lower the quality, or even refuse to sell to the certain companies. But if the businesses hold the power, they can demand better prices, higher quality, and even control the supply chain themselves. So let's see some of the key aspects that decide who holds the real power, the supplier or the businesses. First of all, the number and the size of the suppliers. Fewer supplier means more power. So let's say you own a business and you need to buy raw material. If you have only one supplier, they can charge whatever they want and you have no other options, but you need to accept that. But if you have hundreds of suppliers, you can easily negotiate or switch to the cheaper one. So if I think about some of the example, one example is in the airline industry, the Boeing and the Airbus. Airlines have only these two major plane suppliers. So these two companies set the price and the airline must pay whatever they charge. At the same time, if you think about H&M and Zara, these brands sources from thousands of suppliers worldwide. If one supplier raises prices, they can switch to another supplier. So the key learning here is more supplier means less power for them, more power for the businesses. At the same time, fewer supplier means more power for them, less control for the businesses. So the second key aspect is the availability of the substitute input. What if your supplier increases price by 30% overnight? Can you find other suppliers or are you stuck? If substitute exists, businesses can switch easily and stay profitable. But if there is no substitution, that means business lost control and supplier take all the power. If you see the example of the chip shortage crisis, in 2021, car companies could not get enough microchip because only a few suppliers like TSMC and Intel control the market. As a result, car prices skyrocketed. But at the same time, McDonald's case in terms of their potatoes, when potatoes prices went up, McDonald's simply found new suppliers from different countries. They had alternatives, so the supplier had less power in it. So the next aspect is the cost of switching the suppliers. So let me ask you, would you leave your internet provider if switching means high fees or weeks of service disruptions? Probably not. The same goes for business. If switching supplier is too costly or risky, companies are forced to stick with the bad deals. So similarly here, Apple and TSMC, Apple relies on TSMC for advanced chip. If Apple wants to switch supplier, it would take years to find another company with the same technology. But on the contrary, think about a coffee shop. If one coffee supplier raises prices, Starbucks or the Costa Coffee can easily switch to another one. So the thing is, low switching cost means more power for the businesses, high switching cost means more power for the suppliers. So the next key aspect is the supplier dependency. If a supplier depends heavily on one company for sales, the business holds the power. But if the business rely on fewer suppliers, the supplier gain controls. If you think about an example, let's say Nike has dozens of factories producing their shoes. If one factory refuses to work with them, Nike can just go to elsewhere. At the same time, think about the luxury brands or luxury watch brand, let's say Rolex. Rolex depend on a few specialized suppliers for material like switch-made movements. If a supplier stops working with them, their production will collapse. Another key aspect is the impact of supplier pricing on profit margin. If a business relies on a supplier whose cost kept rising, that means it really eats away at their profits. Companies either accept lower margin or raise prices for the consumer. So like a restaurant or rising food prices, when food costs go up, restaurant must charge higher price from the consumer or they need to shrink their profit. But at the same time, when chip prices rises, companies like Sony, Microsoft, Tesla must adjust their product prices. So that means stable supplier pricing means a strong business profit. At the same time, unstable supplier pricing means business will struggle hard. Another key aspect is the forward integration. That means, can supplier become your competitors? So if I ask you what happens if supplier decide to cut out the middleman and sell directly to the consumer, that's called the forward integration and it can completely change the industry. Just here is the example of Amazon. Many suppliers who once sold through Amazon got replaced by Amazon's own product under the Amazon Basics brand. And another thing is Tesla is making their own battery. That means instead of relying on battery suppliers, Tesla is building its own battery factory to reduce the supplier control. So here is the thing that if business take over supplier's role, that means less supplier power. At the same time, if suppliers enter to the market, that means more supplier power. So here are the thing about the bargaining power of the supplier issue. So the third force, the bargaining power of the buyers. Who really decides how much you pay for a product, the business or you? Think about it. When you walk into a store or browse something online, do you have the power to demand lower price, get better service, or switch brand easily? If yes, then you hold the power. But if you have no choice but to pay the listed price, that means the business has the power. So let's break down and see some of the key aspects that determine whether buyers have the power or the business have the power. So the first of all, the number of buyers. Let's say you are selling lemonade. If 500 consumers line up, you do not need to raise prices because demands are high. But again, if you only have 2 consumers, they can negotiate for a lower price because you desperately need the consumer. So if you see the industry of luxury cars, Rolls-Royce has very few buyers. That means they offer personalized service and custom feature to attract them. At the same time, if you think about the FMCG sectors, many buyers low power. That means brands like Coca-Cola sells to millions. They do not worry about individual consumer bargaining for lower prices. So the key fact here, more buyers means businesses have more powers. Fewer buyers means buyers hold power and demand better deals. The second key aspect is the purchase volume. The more you buy, the more power you have. Large buyer can negotiate bulk discount, while a small buyer usually pay full prices. Think about Walmart. Walmart actually buys in bulk from the supplier and demands lowest possible prices. That's why they can sell cheaper than the small stores. At the same time, if you think about individual consumer, when you buy a single laptop, you pay full price, but a university buying 10,000 of laptop for the students get huge amount of discounts. So the key lesson here, bigger buyers or big buyers means more power to negotiate. At the same time, a small buyer means less negotiating power. Another aspect is the price sensitivity. If buyers are price sensitive, they shop around for the best deal. If they value brand, quality or convenience, business hold more power. In the case of airlines, more travelers book flight based on price, making airlines compete aggressively with the discounts. At the same time, think about Apple. Apple users stick with iPhones even if prices increases because they love the brand and the ecosystem. So that means price sensitive buyer means more power to demand lower prices. At the same time, brand loyal buyer means less power and willing to pay the premium. Moving to the next aspect, which is availability of the substitute. If you can easily switch to a cheaper or better alternative, that means you have more power. But if no real substitute exists, that means business control the whole market. So in the case of streaming services, if Netflix increase the prices, user can switch to Disney Plus or the Prime Video, forcing Netflix to keep competitive price. At the same time, pharmaceutical drugs, some life-saving medication have no other substitute, so patient must pay whatever the company charges. So the thing here is, more substitute means buyer hold power. At the same time, no substitute means business hold power. So moving to the next aspect, which is consumer knowledge and access to information. So before the internet, businesses could set any prices and consumer had no other way to compare. But today, with online reviews and price checking app, consumers are more informed and powerful than ever before. So in the case of e-commerce industry now, Amazon, eBay, Google let user compare prices instantly, making businesses compete aggressively. At the same time, luxury fashions, high-end brands do not compete on price. Their consumer value exclusivity, at the same time prestige, so they can charge any premium rates. So that means what? Informed buyer means more power. At the same time, uninformed buyer means business control the prices. So next time you shop, ask yourself who really hold the power. If you can negotiate, compare prices or switch brand easily, that means you are in full control. So the force number 4, or the threats of substitute. Let's say you walk into a coffee shop for your usual caffeine fix, but then you see a cheaper energy drinks right next to your counter. It is cheaper, faster and just as effective. Would you switch? If yes, that means the threat of substitute is in action. Business do not just compete with direct rivals, they also battle alternative that can fulfill the same consumer need in a different way. So let's see some of the key aspects of the threat of substitute that could affect a business. First of all, the number of substitute. The more alternative consumers have, the easier it is for them to switch away from one product to another. If substitutes are limited, that means business have more control on pricing. Think about the transportation industry again. A traveler can choose planes, trains, bus, car and even virtual meeting instead of flying. At the same time, in the industry of diamonds, there are very few alternatives to real diamonds, keeps their pricing very high. So what does it mean? More substitute means high threat, fewer substitute means low threat. Then the willingness to switch. If customers are loyal, they stick to a product even if a substitute exists. But if they are price sensitive, they will switch to any cheaper alternative. Think about the smartphone industry. Apple users rarely switch to Android because of the brand loyalty and the ecosystem. And again, the fast food industry. Customers easily switch from McDonald's to Burger King's to KFC based on the price and convenience. So that means what? Price sensitive consumer means high threat, brand loyal consumer means low threat. So the next one is price versus the performance. So in the case of Netflix and the cable TV, streaming services offer more content at lower price with no ads. At the same time, this has made traditional cable TV almost obsolete. So if substitutes are cheaper and better, that means this is high threat. At the same time, if substitutes are lower quality, that means this is low threat. So the next one is the degree of product differentiations. If a product is unique and stand out, customers are less likely to switch. But if everything looks the same, substitute become the real threat. So here's the thing about the branded clothing, which are low threated. Like consumers pay extra for Nike, Adidas or Gucci because of their design, status and emotional connection. At the same time, bottled water means higher threat. Most bottled water brands taste the same. So consumers buy whatever is the cheapest. So that means what? Unique products means there is low threat and similar product means there is high threats. So next up is the convenience and the quality. Sometimes it is not about price. If a substitute is easier, faster or more convenient, people will switch even if it costs a bit more. So think about the ride-sharing app, which are the high threat for the taxis, like Uber or Lyft or similar service are faster and more convenient than the traditional taxi. At the same time, for the case of homemade furniture, mass-produced furniture is cheaper, but people still buy custom-made furniture for its uniqueness and craftsmanship. So that means what? More convenience actually means it is higher threat and less convenience means it is lower threat. So businesses that ignores the threat of substitute get left behind. If consumers find a cheaper, easier or better way to meet their needs, they will switch. So what's the lesson here? If you are in business, always watch for emerging substitute and find ways to differentiate, innovate and improve conveniences. In the last section, we talked about substitute, the alternative products that can replace what a business offers. But now let's take it to one step further. What happens when new competitors enter the industry and offer similar product or service? Will they shake up the market or struggle to survive? This is what we call threat of new entrants, and it can determine whether a company enjoys long-term profit or faces constant competition. Some markets see new business popping up every day, while other markets almost impossible to break into. What makes the difference? It all comes down to barrier to entry, the obstacle that stop or slow down new competitors. So let's explore some of the key aspects of this particular force. First of all, barrier to entries are the roadblocks that stop new business from entering to an industry. The harder it is to enter, the fewer competitors a company has to worry about. Think about luxury car manufacturing, which has higher barrier. Why? Because it requires millions in investment, a supply chain, and also the brand trust. At the same time, think about the food delivery app, who has the lower barrier. Almost anyone can develop an app and partner with restaurants. So that means what? Higher barriers means fewer new entrants and also less competition. On the contrary, lower barrier means more new businesses and also intense competitions. So the next one is the economics of scale. Do bigger companies have an unfair advantage? The more a company produces, the cheaper it gets per unit. Big companies have economic of scale, making it hard for a smaller business to compete. Like Amazon's, which has high barrier, its massive warehouse network reduces cost, keep pricing lower than the smaller retailer. At the same time, think about local bakeries, which have lower barrier. That means small businesses can enter easily but struggle to match bigger supermarket prices. So the thing here is, if large firm dominates, new entrants struggle. So at the same time, if anyone can start small, expect more competition. Next one is brand recognition and customer loyalty. Customers trust the brands they know. A new company must work twice as hard to build a credibility. For example, Nike, people trust its quality, making it tough for new sportswear brand to break in. At the same time, think about local coffee shop. Customers easily try new coffees, leading to constant competitions. So that means if there is a strong brand, that means it is harder for new entrants. At the same time, if there are weak brand loyalty, that means it is easier for the new entrants to enter to the market. Next one is the capital investment required. Like some businesses require huge investment just to get started, making it difficult for new entrants to enter to the market. Think about airline industry. Planes, maintenance, regulation make it nearly impossible for a new airlines to enter to the market. And on the contrary, dropshipping requires little or no investment, just an online store and also the marketing budget. That means what? Expensive industry means fewer new entrants, and also low cost industry means more businesses will come and entry to the market. Another one is the technology pattern and the learning curve. Some industry requires highly specialized knowledge or patents, making it hard for newcomers to compete. So in the industry of pharmaceutical, this is a very common one, but think about the freelancing. Anyone with a skill and internet connection can enter to the market and also offer services based on their skill. So in the case of highly technical industry, harder for new entrants, but simple businesses, it is easier for new entrants to enter to the market. So should you enter to the industry? Look at the barriers first. If entry is easy, that means you need to expect tons of competitions. But if entry is hard, you will need strong strategies to succeed. Alright, so now that we have explored the 5 forces in detail, now the question is, how do we use them? This is not just a theory, it is a powerful tools that help businesses make a smarter decision, avoid risk and find hidden opportunities. So let's see how can we conduct the Porter 5 force analysis. So first, be clear about the industry you are analyzing. If you are starting the smartphone market, are you looking at just phone manufacturer or also software developer, chip makers, or the mobile phone networks? If you are in the restaurant businesses, are you looking at fine dining, fast food, or food delivery services? So defining the industry properly ensure that we are not comparing apples with oranges. The second step is identifying the key players for each of the forces. Who holds the power? First of all, the competitors. Who are the biggest names? Is it a monopoly, a duopoly, or a highly competitive market? Then the suppliers. Are there a few major suppliers with strong control, or can businesses easily switch to the suppliers? Then think about the buyers. Are consumers small and scattered, or do big corporations dominate the purchases? Next one is the substitute. What alternatives could replace your product? And last of all, the new entrants. How easy is it for a startup or a foreign competitor to enter to the market you are operating in? So by identifying this player, we see the battlefield, who is in control and where the power actually shifts. Next step is the assessment of the strength of each of the forces, high, medium and low. High means forces that severely limits profitability or increase competition. For example, intense rivalry in the airlines industry leading to price wars. Medium means forces that influence business but can be managed. For example, moderate supplier power in the fast food industry where multiple suppliers exist. And last one is low. That means the forces that do not pose a major threat, like high brand loyalty in the luxury market reduce the threat of substitute. So the combined score of all 5 forces tell us how attractive an industry is, whether it is a gold mine or actually a battlefield. So after that, now let's put everything together. If the industry is full of strong competitive force, it might not be the best place to invest. But if there are weak forces, for example, few substitute, weak buyer power and high entry barrier, then this could be a golden opportunity for you to start business there. So these are the 4 steps by which you can evaluate Porter 5 forces for your business. So why Porter 5 force is still one of the most powerful tool in the business strategy? Because it helps you see bigger picture, who controls the industry, make smart decisions, should you enter or avoid, find your competitive edge, how can you stay profitable, and last one is prepare for the future, what disruption are coming. So business success is not just about having a great product. It is about understanding the game. If you do not know who holds the power in the industry, you will struggle. But if you do, you can stay ahead, make a smarter decision and build a winning strategy. So let's recap. Competition is tough, stand out or risk blending in. Supplier and buyer influence pricing, manage your relationship wisely. Substitute can take your customers, keep innovating. And last one is, new entrants are always looking for an opportunity. Create a barrier to protect your business. But now here is something to help you apply this model in your own business. A free editable Porter 5 force template is there. Access it now from the link in the description and in the comment section. And if you found the video valuable, do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more powerful business insight. Until next time, keep thinking ahead, keep innovating, and keep winning the game of business.